Well, it's the beginning of media days, and Chris Doering over on the SEC networks. It's too bad that Gene Chizik is gone because between him and Chris Doering, they do an excellent job of actually watching the games and discussing intelligently what's going on in the league. And one thing that Chris Doering asked is what it will be like for Georgia to now to be the hunted, obviously coming off a national championship for the first time in 4 decades. Um, this will be a different season, I guess, in that regard. But I know how Kirby is, and I know the way that he always is looking to be on the front foot, and he will say that they're going to be the ones hunting. And when you look at where this Georgia program is at, there's not a lot of schools that are their peers right now. I do think it depend mentally moving forward. You want to be the hunter, right? That's something you want to have in your mindset. But I get the question because when you start talking about being hunted, nobody's hunting Vanderbilt, right? I mean, or Mississippi State. They don't have anything you want. Georgia's got what everybody wants right now, which is the national championship. Now it doesn't work that way, right? I mean, you go one season to the next, but uh, I think this league right now, moving forward the way that we are, right now it feels like a two-team league at the top with a discussion of Alabama and Georgia. Which do you think is going to be the better team in any particular season? And usually that people are going to say Alabama, okay? And I think they'll say that this year. I'll vote Alabama number one. But does that then mean that Alabama is the hunted, right, in this scenario? This is what we do, right? Hey, make sure you're picking up Dogstruction. I'm running out of these books. I've already ordered a new set, so make sure you pick this up today so yours is not that delayed. Buy it today, and you're going to get our 2022 preview. Okay, that's going to be something that you're going to want to get a hold of before the season starts. 50 pages, nothing but the dogs. And that's important for everybody watching because I know y'all are all big Georgia fans. Exclusive interviews in here with Stetson, Kendall Milton, AD Mitchell. We also have some stuff on Jalen Carter, etc. Pick these up today. The links are down below. Um, I think when you start talking about is Georgia the hunted, well, for a long time in the SEC East, they've been the hunted. I mean, probably since 2017, and they are the best program in the East. I think with the change at Florida this off season, I don't see how you can really say it's close in the East. The West is a real knife fight for Alabama, but um, I think the mindset for Georgia is that they accomplished a goal last year. The question is, can they accomplish that same goal this year? I think the answer is yes. Okay. However, last year they were favored against Alabama twice. I do not think that will be the case this year. I think they will go into any game they play with Alabama as an underdog. How significant an underdog, I don't know. A season ago, I think they were somewhere around a 4 to 5 point favorite against Alabama in the first game. But the second game, the second game, the national championship game, that's when people really started freaking out because they didn't understand why is Georgia favored, and not only that, why is it growing? But the thing about it is that they were the better team. They just lost in Atlanta. The game in Indianapolis was more indicative of the way they were. So they were a 6 point favorite in Atlanta and lost that game straight up. They were a 3 point favorite in Indianapolis and more than covered that game. In 20, they were a 6 point dog. In 18, they were a 12 point dog, which was senseless. But we've seen lately the only team out there that's been holding its own in terms of the betting odds has been Georgia. In their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, they've been the favorite 3 times. So they still have some payback to Alabama in terms of upsets. But They nearly upset them twice, I'll tell you. And that's why that if you want to call it a rivalry, I don't. That's why that game has been so interesting and fun. But how will Georgia move forward in this season? How will Georgia's preparation for 2022 move forward? You've got Oregon right off the bat. You have to win that game. I mean, it would mean that every other game from that point on in the season is must win to get to the playoff. And that's really what this has become. Are you going to get to the playoff? Are you going to get to the SEC championship game with a chance to go to the playoff? I don't know. When you look at this season, there's no game Georgia should lose. But I've been around long enough to know that you don't just go undefeated in the SEC. It's very rare. So you don't want your one loss to be terminal. Any more teams in the league that lose usually lose more than one game. But you saw a season ago where Georgia got to Atlanta undefeated. They had the win over Clemson, the wins over Kentucky, as well as Arkansas. Those were all three top 10 wins. Um, so they got to Atlanta with some polish, right? Alabama beat them, and Kirby even knew going into Atlanta that if they didn't win that game, that they would have another shot. You can hear him saying that on some of these documentaries. So they knew that they were at house money in Atlanta. Maybe that was the problem in Atlanta. I don't know. If you're an Alabama fan watching this, of course you're going to be full triggered talking about how someone was injured. I mean, Georgia didn't play without Adam Anderson and George Pickens for half the season. So, you know, better luck next time, I guess. Um, these two are going to keep going back and forth, it seems to me. And what we don't know, and I've said this a lot with Ryan Curley through the years, we don't know at what part of this dynamic we're at. Is this a so-called 10-year war? Well, if that's the case, we're barely halfway through it, and these guys are going to keep fighting for the next half decade. Is it going to go on longer than that? Are Nick or Kirby going to retire after next year? I mean, we don't know. So, um, is Georgia the hunted? Yeah, they are. I mean, about the only two teams that can make the claim that Georgia, isn't in a better position than them is Ohio State and Alabama. That's it. Those are the two that you could sit there and say, all right, they're in better position than Georgia. I'm not sure I would say that about Ohio State. I'm not sure I wouldn't. But Alabama has, as it's been described, the better team coming into 2022. What I'm saying is they're not so much better that they can't get beaten. And I got a chance to rewatch their game with Texas A&M not that long ago. They really did not play well that night. Now they almost won, but there were a couple of times last season, well, more than a couple of times, where they just didn't play well. Alabama. I mean, I think you talk about Texas A&M. They lost that game. The LSU game, they did not play well. The Auburn game, they did not play well. Now they won two of those three games, which shows what Nick and his crew have built, which is a bunch of winners. Okay, but you can only, I mean, when did Georgia not play well? Florida, I guess. The first Alabama game. I mean, it wasn't a lot, and not like Alabama was a lot, but neither of these two guys is so good that they can't lose. Neither of these two is so good that they can just roll the ball out there and win. But in terms of hunted, I mean, I think I love Chris. I mean, I think Chris Doering. I really miss Gene Chizik because I think that those two did a very good job together. I do not know who's going to replace Gene Chizik, but um, Chris is talking in, the usual way that folks talk, but I think that Georgia, yes, is the hunted. How they will react to that, if they're still hunting, then they're going to be all right, because everybody in this league has got their bow and arrow or their, hunting rifle, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's out to eat. and you're going to see that this year in the SEC.